Hello everyone, myself Purushotham, working as Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, MLR Institute. In this session, I am going to discuss about the polymorphism concept. Okay. So, this is the overview of this session. So, first I will explain what is a polymorphism. Next, I will explain the method overloading and the constructor overloading I will explain. Okay. So, let us get started today's session. So, coming to the polymorphism. So, the word the polymorphism came from the Greek word. Okay. The poly and morphos. So, poly means many and morphos means forms. Okay. The polymorphism means many forms. So, the definition of the polymorphism means many forms, means performing a single task in many ways is nothing but the polymorphism. Okay. And polymorphism we can define in different ways. So, another definition of the polymorphism means ability to show more than one form. Ability to show more than one form is nothing but the polymorphism. So, polymorphism means performing a single task in many ways is a polymorphism, and the ability to show more than one form is nothing but the polymorphism. Okay. Now, so suppose if you take an example, in general example I am explaining, like suppose if you take an example like a person. So, person is one, and when he enter into the classroom, he will act like a student. When he enter into the cricket ground, so he will act like a cricket player, and when he enter into the home, so he will act like a son. Okay. So, person is only one and his roles are changing, that depends on the situation. Okay. So, when he enter into the classroom, his role is a student, the role one, and when he enter into the cricket ground, his role is a cricket player, and when he enter into the home, and his role is a son. Okay. So, depends on the situation, the person roles are changing accordingly. Okay. So, here the definition of the polymorphism means ability to show more than one form is nothing but the polymorphism. So, a person is a one and is behaving what? Different and is playing what? The different roles according to the situation. So, polymorphism represents the ability to assume the several different forms. Means, as I mentioned, the same definition, ability to show more than one form is nothing but the polymorphism only, means the different ways we can solve the same problem, and the ability to define more than one function with the same name is called the polymorphism. Actually, in Java, in different ways we can achieve the polymorphism. The polymorphism we can achieve by using the method overloading, polymorphism we can achieve by constructor overloading, and the polymorphism we can achieve the method overriding. Okay. So, how can we achieve the polymorphism means in different ways we can achieve, like method overloading, constructor overloading, and method overriding. And the polymorphism mainly talks about what? The multiple forms. Okay. The polymorphism mainly talks about the multiple forms. Now, so polymorphism can be divided into two types. One is a static binding and second one is a runtime binding. Okay. Static binding and runtime binding. The static binding, the best example is a method overloading and constructor overloading, and runtime binding, the best example is a method overriding. Okay. So, now in this session exclusively now we will see the method overloading and the constructor overloading. Okay. Now, what exactly a method overloading and how to work with a method overloading, and what is a constructor overloading and how to work with the constructor overloading, now everything now we will see. Now, so coming to the method overloading. So, it is what is the method overloading means? It is a process of rewriting a method with a different signatures within the same class, Okay, is nothing but what the method overloading. So, rewriting a method with a different method signature. Here, the method signatures must be different. Okay. Now, what is the method signature here means? So, suppose assume here I have a class like Now, the class is having a method like public void m1 and int x, and I have one more method like m2 method. Now, here I have int x comma int y. Now, what is the signature here means? The m1 signature is accepting what? Integer. This is the signature of this m1 method, and m1, the second method, the signature is int comma int, means first m1 method is accepting only one argument, and that is an integer type, and second method is accepting two arguments, that is an integer type. Okay, this is the signature of these two methods. So as I mentioned, the process of rewriting the method with a different method signatures, signature must be different. If you are using the same signature, means that becomes what the duplicate methods, and the duplicate methods are not allowed inside a Java class. Okay, that leads to compile time error. So compulsory the method signatures must be different. If it is the same, it becomes what the duplicate class. And the two methods are said to be overloaded methods if and only if the two methods are having the same name with a different argument list. So as I mentioned, the argument list must be different. Okay, if you are using the same argument, same signatures, and it leads what the compile time error. So compulsory the arguments and the signatures must be different here. In method overloading, the number of parameters and order of parameters and the types of the parameters must be different. So either number of parameters must be different, or order of the parameters must be different, or the types of the parameters must be different. Means, so suppose if you are taking, like, I have a class, assume class name is A. Here I have a method like public void m1 method. M1 is accepting int x here, int void m, again I will take m1 only, and here I will take like double x. So here arguments, number of arguments here same, here it is one argument and here one argument. Either number of arguments must be different, or the types of arguments must be different, or order of arguments must be different. Here number of arguments are same, but a type of arguments are different. Here we are using integer, but here we are using what the double type. So this is a overloading only. But if you are using, instead of double, if you are using what the int, and if you are taking what the different variable names also, it is not a method of overloading. Why? Means number is the same here and exactly same type of the variable here you are using. So this is not a method of overloading, and it is a duplicate method, and it leads a compile time error. Compulsory it must be different, or else order must be different. Like suppose if you are taking, like suppose here I will take int x and double y, and here I will take double x and int y. Now if you observe, the number of parameters are 2 here and the number of parameters 2 here. Okay, the parameters are same, and the types of the parameters, here integer is there and here integer is there, and the double is there and the double is there. One integer and one double, one integer, one double. Here also one integer and one double. Types of parameters also same, but the order is different. The order is what? Here the first here is integer, and but here the first argument is a double, second argument is a double, and the second argument is an integer. So no problem, this is also a overloading. But if the order is the same and the type, number and order, if it is the same, then it leads again what the compile time error, and it becomes a duplicate method and it leads a compile time error. So in method overloading, the rule is very clear. In method overloading, number of parameters, order of parameters, and the types of the parameters must be different. Okay, if not, again it leads the compile time error. Okay, all these points I will explain the programmatically. Next. So method loading can be done in one class. To overload a method, so one class is enough. As we know that if you want to write a single Java program, at least one class is required. Okay, and in same class you can override it, you can overload the method. Okay, in method overloading one class is required, but in method overriding the two classes are mandatory. Okay, and the two classes must be in the parent and child relation. But here in method overloading, so one class is enough, and we can overload any number of methods. There is no restriction at all. You can write any number of methods. There is no restriction, but the rule is what? The number of parameters and order of parameters and the types of the parameters must be different. Okay, So you can overload any number of methods. And the compiler does not consider the return type when the differentiating the methods. Means in a method overloading, so it doesn't consider the return type. Okay, suppose if you are using the different return type or the same methods, and that it will treat it as what the duplicate. So you cannot declare a method the same signature even if they have the different return type. Okay, so even though the return type is different, the argument must be different only. Okay, if you are taking the same arguments and the different return types, and again it leads to compile time error. So compulsory, irrespective of your return type, so compulsory your argument types and the number of arguments and types of arguments and order of arguments must be different. Okay, if you are using the same, and again it leads to compile time error. And the very important point in method overloading is method resolution. Method resolution will be taken care by the compiler. So the method resolution means which method has to be executed, that decision will be taken by the compiler. Okay, so who will take that decision means the compiler is the responsible. The method resolution will be taken care by the compiler. Means in a class you have what the different methods, like with the same name we have what the different methods. So which method has to be executed? So who will decide means the compiler is the responsible for that. So that is the reason. So this method overloading also called the compile time polymorphism, and it is a static binding. Okay, so while the compile time itself, it is a binding to that method, so that's why it is what the static binding, and it is what the during compile time only we are the method will be bind, so it is a early binding, not at runtime. During the compilation its time, what your method will be bind. So it is what also called early binding, it is also called static binding, and it is also called the compile time polymorphism. The reason here is the compiler is involving here. The compiler is the responsible for the method resolution. So during compilation process itself, the method will be bind. So suppose if I take an example. So here I have two methods like get sum method and get sum method. As per method overloading definition, the rewriting a method with a different method signature. You can see here, this is the method and this is also method. Here it is expecting what int comma int, it is expecting float comma float. It is expecting two arguments, it is expecting two arguments, but the type is a different. Here it is an integer and here it is expecting the float type. Now whenever you are creating whenever you are calling these methods, like here I am passing 10 and 20. 10 and 20 means 10 is an integer type and 20 also integer type. Integer comma integer. So first method will be trigger. Okay. So this decision will be taken care by the compiler. Compiler is the responsible. During compilation itself, it will be bind to what this get sum, first method. And whenever you are using whenever you are calling the second method like get sum dot 10.5f and 20.5f, means 10.5f it is a float type and it is also float type, float and float. So exact match is this one. So this method will be triggered. Again this decision will be taken care by the compiler. So that's why it is called the compile time polymorphism. And so on what basis it will decide means the based on only the reference, only reference. How the compiler will be decide means the based on the what reference only, not on object. So only based on the reference this method will be what execute. Okay, so I will prove this point. So suppose I have two methods like same public okay, so here I will take the public void get sum and it is expecting a comma int b so result 1 I will print like A plus B. So result 2. So instead of taking integer, I will take the float, and here also I will take float. Now here I will call these methods. I will create object. Since these two are the instance methods, so compulsory object creation is required. Using object only we can call. So get sum, and here I am passing 10 and 20. The 10 and 20. So two arguments are integer type. The first method will be triggered. It will print the result 1. You can see here it will print the result 1. And if you are passing s dot get sum, and if you are passing 10.50 f and 20.50 f. So the second method will be triggered, and it will print the result 2. So it will print both result 1 and result 2. You can see here it will print the result 1 and the result 2. So how it will decide means based on this reference only. Okay, based on this reference only it will execute these methods. Okay, like suppose I have a class now. Suppose let's take like demo class. Now the demo and the sample are the parent and the child relation, and instead of using what current class object, so what I will do means I will take demo. So assume here the demo is also having okay, let it, I will not take this one. Now you can see here I will assign, here I am assigning what the child class object to the parent class reference, and I am using yes here. So if you are executing this one, and it will print the same result 1 and result 2. So why it is a printing like this? So how it is executing means based on this reference, this left side part only. So S is a reference to the sample class, and it will check in only the sample class. It will check in only in sample class. So the method resolution will be taken care by the compiler, and what basis means on reference basis, not object basis, only it will consider only the reference. So coming to the constructor overloading, so it is possible to overload the constructor. You can write any number of constructor with different method signature. So method overloading and constructor overloading exactly same. The difference is what here we will use a constructor, and there will use normal method. So if you observe here I have the three constructors: sample constructor, sample constructor, and sample constructor. It is expecting 0 arguments, and it is expecting 1 argument, and it is expecting the 2 arguments. Whenever you are creating object, what will happen means it will call the constructor. So the first, here you are not passing, the first constructor will be triggered, and here you are passing integer value, 1 integer value, the second constructor will be triggered, and here you are passing the 2 integer value, the second constructor will be triggered. So it will print the 0 argue constructor, 1 argue constructor, and a 2 argue constructor. So that's about what the constructor overloading and method overloading. Okay. So coming to the summary, in this session we have discussed the polymorphism definition. So what exactly a polymorphism, and how to work with the polymorphism also we have seen, and how to achieve the polymorphism also we have seen, and method overloading and constructor overloading also we will discuss. The method overloading means the rewriting a method with a different method signature is nothing but method overloading, and constructor overloading also exactly same as a method overloading. The difference is what here we will use what the constructor instead of using normal method. And the next session we will see method overriding. Okay, so that's about this session. Thank you.